I'm 84. I worked every day of my life. I missed everything that mattered. The alarm went off at 5 every morning for 41 years. I never once hit snooze. My father raised me to believe that a man who sleeps past the sun is a man who has already fallen behind. So I rose before the house woke up, dressed in the dark so I would not disturb Eleanor, drank my coffee standing at the kitchen counter, and left while the street was still quiet and the world had not yet demanded anything of anyone. I thought that was discipline. I thought that was love. I thought showing up to a job every single day without complaint, without absence, without weakness was the highest form of devotion a man could offer his family. I was wrong. But I did not find that out until it was far too late to do anything useful with the knowledge. My name is Harold. I am 84 years old. I live alone in a house with 4 bedrooms that once felt too small and now feels like a country I do not have the energy to explore. I have 3 children. I have 7 grandchildren. I have 1 photograph on my desk that I look at every morning and every night. And in it, Eleanor is laughing at something someone said just before the shutter clicked. Her head tilted back, her eyes almost closed. Her hand raised halfway, as if she is about to wave the joke away. She has been gone for 6 years. I still reach for her side of the bed sometimes, in that half-asleep place before the brain catches up to the truth. I want to tell you about the things I missed, not to punish myself. I am too old for punishment. But because I think there are men out there, younger than me, standing at kitchen counters in the dark right now, drinking coffee they cannot taste, already running numbers in their heads before the sun has come up, and I want them to hear this from someone who lived it all the way to the end. I missed the mornings. That is the first thing. Eleanor used to have a whole life in the mornings that I knew nothing about. I found this out years later when my daughter Catherine told me that her most vivid childhood memories were of Saturday mornings with her mother, pancakes with too much butter, the radio playing something old and scratchy, Eleanor dancing, actually dancing in the kitchen while the batter sat. Catherine told me she used to lie in bed on Saturday mornings listening for the sound of the radio because it meant her mother was happy and the day would be soft. I was never there for the soft days. I worked Saturdays, every Saturday for 22 years. Half day, I always told Eleanor. I'll be home by lunch. I was never home by lunch. There was always something. A call, a meeting, a problem that could not wait until Monday, because nothing in my office could ever wait until Monday. I built a career on the idea that I was indispensable, and I was so committed to that idea that I made it true, and the cost of that truth was every soft Saturday morning my children ever had. I missed my son's first year of football. Thomas was 11 when he joined the junior league. He wanted me to come to the games. I told him I would try. I tried twice in a full season of 14 games. The second time I came, I arrived in the 3rd quarter and stood at the edge of the field, and Thomas saw me from across the grass, and his face did something complicated. Not quite happiness, not quite surprise, something in between that had a sadness underneath it that an 11-year-old should not have had to carry. He had stopped expecting me. He was surprised I had come because he had already adjusted his world to a version where I didn't. I drove home after that game and sat in the car in the driveway for 10 minutes. I knew something was wrong. I knew it in the body the way you know weather is coming before the sky shows it. But I did not go inside and tell Eleanor what I was feeling. I did not change anything. I went to work the next morning at 5 and told myself next season would be different, and next season was exactly the same. I missed the conversation Eleanor needed to have about her mother. Her mother was ill for 3 years before she passed, a slow and grinding illness that took everything in stages, first the mobility, then the memory, then the person underneath both. Eleanor drove to see her every Thursday for 3 years, alone. I told her I had work. I told her I would come when I could. I came 4 times in 3 years of Thursdays. What I did not understand then and understand completely now is that Eleanor did not need me to come for her mother. She needed me to come for her. She needed to not be alone in the parking lot of that care home, sitting in the car, gathering herself before going in to see the woman who used to be her mother and was now something that resembled her in shape only. She needed a hand. She needed someone to say, "I see how hard this is. I see you doing this alone, and I am sorry, and I am here." I gave her neither. I gave her a husband who came home at 7 and asked how her day was while reading the mail and did not look up from the envelopes when she answered. She never complained. That was Eleanor's nature. She was not a woman who asked for things directly. She showed you what she needed by the way the light went out of her eyes when you did not give it, and I was so focused on everything outside the house that I could not read the light in my own wife's face. My youngest, Patricia, stopped telling me things when she was about 14. I noticed it eventually, but I told myself it was normal. Teenagers pull away. That is what they do. I read that somewhere and I used it as a reason not to examine my own role in the distance. The truth, which Patricia told me 20 years later over a dinner that started normally and became one of the most important conversations of my life, was that she had tried to tell me things. She had tried at 12 and 13 and 14, and every time she tried I was distracted or tired or halfway out the door or halfway into a phone call, and she learned, the way children learn things they should never have to learn, that her father was present in body and absent in everything that mattered. She said it without anger. That was the hardest part. She said it the way you state a fact about weather or geography. She said, "Dad, I just learned not to need you for the important stuff." And then she picked up her fork and continued eating, and I sat across from her and felt the full weight of 40 years land on me at once. I retired at 67, 2 years after I should have. Eleanor had been asking me to retire for years. The children needed me less by then. They had their own lives, their own kitchens and alarms, and children falling asleep in rooms down the hall. But Eleanor and I had time, real time, the kind we had never had before, and I kept pushing it back. One more year, one more project, one more thing that could not wait. When I finally stopped working, I did not know what to do with myself. That is the honest truth. I had built my entire identity around the job, and without it, I was just a man in a house who did not know where anything was kept, and could not remember the last time he had sat in a garden just to sit. Eleanor was patient with me. She always had been. She showed me the rhythm of her days, and I followed it like a student, and slowly, embarrassingly late, I began to understand the life she had been living in, the hours I was never home. We had 8 good years, 8 years of mornings with no alarm, of traveling to places we had talked about for decades and never gone, of sitting on the back porch in the evening with a glass of something cold, not talking, just being in the same place at the same time with nowhere either of us had to be. 8 years of finally being a husband in the full sense of the word. And then she was gone. A stroke, quick, which the doctor said was a mercy, and which I understood intellectually and could not feel emotionally. There is no mercy in losing the person you should have spent 40 years with and only managed 8. There is no mercy in understanding too late what you had. The children came and stayed and then went back to their lives, and I was alone in the house with 4 bedrooms and 1 photograph and every soft morning I had ever missed. I want to tell you what I know now, not what I wish I had known then, because wishing changes nothing, and I have made my peace with that, what I know now. I know that a career cannot sit with you when you are frightened. I know that a promotion cannot laugh with its head tilted back and its hand half raised in a kitchen full of Saturday morning radio. I know that the meetings you missed your son's game for have not been thought about by anyone since the day they ended, and your son still carries the face he made when he saw you arrive in the 3rd quarter and could not quite decide how to feel. I know that presence is not the same as being in the building. A man can live in a house for 40 years and be a stranger to everyone inside it. I was that man. I am not proud of it. I am also not destroyed by it because at 84, destruction is a luxury, and I would rather spend what time I have being useful, so I show up now. Every school play, every game, every ordinary Tuesday dinner my children invite me to. I sit on the floor with my grandchildren and I let them explain things to me that I do not understand, and I listen with my whole face the way I never listened to their parents. I call Patricia every Sunday and I ask her about the important stuff, and I stay on the phone until she is done. It is not enough. I know that. You cannot replace what was not given. You can only give what is left. The alarm does not go off at 5 anymore. I wake with the light now, slow and quiet, and I lie there for a few minutes before I get up. I look at the ceiling. I think about Eleanor. I think about the photograph. I think about the laugh inside it that I almost missed entirely and was lucky enough to finally hear in the last 8 years of her life. Then I get up. I make coffee. I drink it sitting down at the table by the window, watching the garden she planted, and I am learning to keep. That is all. That is everything. Do not wait until you are 84 to sit down with your coffee.